I'm 25 years old. I I come from France. So my city in France is called Nice. It's in the southeast of France, uh, near the Mediterranean Sea. So there is the beach, the mountain, and yeah. For my studies, I have a bachelor's degree in English language. So I studied, so in France, bachelor's degree is 3 years. So I studied for 2 years in France at the University of Aix-en-Provence. It's near my city. And I studied for 1 year in Scotland. I did a study exchange program for 1 year at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. You want to translate?
Iya. Kalau untuk perkenalannya, saya yakin Ustazah sudah memahami ya. Nah, untuk bachelor degree itu S1 selama 3 tahun, kemudian 1 tahunnya itu di Scotland. Scotland itu di
Edinburgh.
Oh, your faculty?
The University of Edinburgh, and same, it's literature, languages. I studied like Scottish history, Celtic civilization. Yeah.
Belajar literatur, sastra Scotland dan ya tentang bahasa.
And so I graduated in 2022. So yeah, 3 years ago. So now in France, I work as an English teacher, but mainly private English teacher, English tutor for students. And I also work with children in kids club, like summer camps in the summer, like with children from 4 years old up to 12 years old.
Jadi setelah 3 tahun lulus, Ana bekerja sebagai pengajar bahasa Inggris di Prancis, mulai dari umur
4 years old to 12.
4 sampai 12.
Yeah. And so usually I work because in France, there are 4 seasons. So there are a lot of seasonal jobs. So it means that in summer, there are many job opportunities because it's a very touristy area. So I usually work in the summer. So I have short-term contracts, work in the summer. And then, I have volunteered abroad in Cambodia, now here for 6 months. And I have also worked abroad in Iceland, also worked in Scotland. And I have traveled to many places as well, in between work and studies.
Jadi di sana kan ada 4 musim. Ana melakukan pekerjaan seasonal itu berdasarkan musim. Jadi ada kontrak yang per musim. Jadi musim panas misalnya bekerja pada saat musim panas, musim semi dan lain sebagainya. Nah, kalau di musim panas itu bekerja bertemu dengan turis, jadi menggunakan bahasa Inggrisnya, dan di sana sangat banyak turis ketika musim panas, dan dia juga melakukan menjadi relawan ke Kamboja, kemana-mana pokoknya, dan akhirnya sampai di sini.
And yes, I think that's all for my introduction. Now, if you have some questions about anything, friends, or volunteering, my background, anything, feel free to ask any questions.
I'm question for you.
Yes.
I'm Romy,
Yes.
Master in SJT Nurul Islam. I will. I want to know Prancis itu seperti apa? Desanya, kotanya seperti apa?
France looks like the city
Wow.
and the village. Can you describe city and
Yeah.
village?
So I think France is very diverse in terms of landscapes. So all the cities are so different. They all look so different. Yeah, the cities in the south, in the west, east, north, they all have very different architecture. So different. That's why it's so interesting to visit many different cities in France because yeah, it all looks very different. For example, yeah, just Paris, the capital city, with my city, looks totally different. My city, there are colorful buildings like in Italy, like red, green, yellow. In Paris, it's only gray, mainly gray, white, like this. So yeah, the architecture is very different everywhere. And then in terms of landscapes, like there are the mount. Oh, you want to translate? Okay. Yes.
Di setiap kota di sana itu beda-beda. Jadi mungkin di Paris dengan di Nice itu beda. Pokoknya di setiap kota di Prancis itu arsitekturnya beda-beda. Jadi beragam. Misalnya di Nice itu ada warna merah, hijau, kuning, pokoknya warna-warni seperti di Italia. Tapi kalau di Paris itu grey itu apa ya? Grey. Jadi hampir semuanya itu abu-abu.
Warna-warna apa?
Jadi warna bangunannya itu beda-beda. Harus grey kalau di Paris, kalau di Nice itu warna-warni.
Yeah. But the similar thing between every cities actually is that it's designed for pedestrians. So it means that there are sidewalks everywhere. If you want to walk from one side of the city to the other, even if it takes 2 hours, you will be able to walk everywhere. You will never be walking on the side of the road with the cars. Yeah. So it's very nice, and it's very much in the culture in France to walk everywhere. Even if my place of work is 30 minutes away or even 45 minutes away walking, I will walk and people will walk.
Untuk persamaannya di setiap kota yang ada di Prancis itu selalu ada jalur khusus pejalan kaki. Jadi kalau jenengan dari sini mau ke Salatiga misalnya jalan kaki bisa, karena ada jalurnya. Ya, kalau kita mau jalan kaki selama 2 jam itu pun bisa karena ada jalur khususnya. Jadi kayak kalau di Malioboro, nah itu kan ada jalur khusus. Jadi tidak hanya di situ aja, tapi di setiap jalurnya itu semuanya terkoneksi dengan pejalan kaki dan kita bisa jalan dengan aman di sana. Kalau di sini kan nggak bisa kita jalan kaki dari sini ke Salatiga karena nggak ada jalur khususnya.
And also, yeah, there are crossing paths everywhere with the red light, green light, everywhere. Because, yeah, normally it's not allowed to cross anywhere. Like, if there are cars, motorcycles, you're not allowed to cross. You can, get a fine for this. So you have to cross only on the cross path when the light is green. Yeah. Otherwise, if they are policemen, yeah, they can charge you for this.
Jadi pejalan kaki itu sama seperti pengendara sepeda motor atau mobil. Mereka juga harus mematuhi peraturan. Kalau mau nyebrang ya harus di jalurnya. Kalau lampu hijau mereka bisa jalan, tapi kalau lampu merah mereka tidak bisa jalan. Dan kalau melanggar peraturan tentu saja pejalan kakinya juga akan ada tilang. You mean that the police will punish the pedestrian?
Yes. I mean, of course, yeah, technically in the law, but of course, yeah, I have crossed before at the red light. If I see that there are no cars, yes, I can cross at the red light. But if there is a police car just here, of course, I will not cross in front of them at the red light because they are allowed to tell me, no, you're not allowed to do this, so we will charge you like, I don't know, 25 euros or something.
Mungkin tetap kena denda kalau pejalan kaki itu melanggar peraturan. Misalnya nyabrang sembarangan ya gitu tetap dikenai tilang.
And so sometimes in Indonesia, yeah, if I want to go somewhere, I see on Google Maps it's maybe 5 minutes away. So I say, okay, I can walk there. And then I start to walk, and then I see like big road, many cars and motorcycles, and it tells me that I have to cross there. But I'm too scared to cross. I cannot. I know that you can do it, but for me, I could never because I see the cars, the motorcycles, and so I just turn around and I say, I cannot cross. So I will take a Gojek or something. Yeah.
Jadi salah satu culture shocknya anak itu ketika jalan kaki di sini, kemudian nggak ada apa jenisnya, jadi nggak berani nyebrang. Mungkin ya kita memang orang Indonesia berani nyebrang. Next.
And then, there are more cars than motorcycles. There are some motorcycles, but not many. And same, it's also different. Not allowed to go more than 2 people on the motorcycle. Yeah, not allowed. And everyone has to wear helmet. Otherwise, you will get arrested by the police. That's for sure you will get arrested. Yes, and have to pay. Yeah. Oh, not like, I mean, just, they will give you a fine on the moment, and they will tell you, like, you have to go home, put a helmet on, and you have to pay this amount of money. Yeah. So you will never see anyone driving without a helmet. No one.
Mobil dan motor itu lebih banyak mobil. Kalau menggunakan motor ya harus pakai helm dan tidak boleh lebih dari sagi.
Indonesia.
And then so this is for the cities, and then for the villages, I think maybe a bit similar to Indonesia. Yeah, it's in the villages, like everyone knows each other, and it's like a big community. You can talk to your neighbors. But in the cities, if you live, because in the cities it's mainly apartment buildings, so usually, you don't always know your neighbors. You don't know who lives next door. Sometimes you don't know. You just see them in the morning, maybe say hello, and that's it. But for me, in my apartment building, because I was born there, so I've been living there for more than 20 years, my parents as well. So we know everyone in the building because, it's mainly old people, families. Everyone has been living there for a long time. So we all know each other. So we say hello, but we never, I don't know, bring food to our neighbors or invite each other for dinner. No, Usually not. Only one night a year there is the neighbors party in summer. So we all gather in the field in front of the building, and everyone brings food and we share the food. But this is only one night a year. Yeah.
Jadi kalau di desa ya hampir sama seperti di sini. Kita bisa tahu tetangga kita dan kita bisa ngobrol. Tapi kalau di kota enggak, karena mereka itu sebagian besar tinggal di apartemen. Nah, di apartemen itu mereka hanya kenal satu gedung saja. Misalnya kalau di apartemen itu 3 lantai, berarti hanya kenal segitu aja. Kalau di kota kanan kirinya gedung, jadi nggak ada kebun atau apapun, sehingga ya mereka cuma melihat gedung aja. Kalaupun mau ada kalau di sini kan kita biasanya munjung itu ngasih tetangga gitu. Kalau di sana enggak. Kalaupun ada ya ada pertemuan tetangga setahun sekali, mereka makan bareng-bareng di situ, ya udah gitu aja.
Kalau misalnya tinggalnya di kota, desa pas tengah kota.
Nice.
In the city or
Nice is a city. Yeah, quite big city. I mean maybe for Indonesia not so big, but 350,000 inhabitants.
380,000 jiwa.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's a relatively big city. Me, I live a bit around the city, so not in the city center with all the cars and everything. I live a bit uphill, so yeah, it's a very calm and quiet neighborhood. But still, there is the bus, the shops, yeah, but many parks, so it's nice.
Ya, jadi anak itu tinggalnya di Nice, tapi di pinggir kotanya, dan lebih tenang dan masih banyak taman. Jadi kalau di kota kan banyak gedung, tapi kalau misalnya di Salatiga, nak pinggirannya Salatiga nggih candi, pinggirannya.
And I think
Mungkin about your family.
oh
Your
yeah.
mother, sister,
Yeah. So my mother, yeah, she's around 52 years old. She works. Yeah. Yeah, my mother is 52 years old. She works as a nurse in the hospital with children. My father is maybe 55 years old. He works in a company that sells construction material for building companies. Yeah. And my sister, yeah, I have one sister. She is 23 years old, and at the moment, she is studying in university to become an orthodontist. Yes, orthodontist. So it's very long studies. Yeah, I think she has 3 more years of studies. In total, maybe 7, 8 years. Yes. So we are a family of 4. Yeah.
yang perlu ya. Ibunya itu 52 tahun, bekerja sebagai perawat. Ayahnya itu 55 tahun, bekerja di perusahaan construction yang menjual material construction. Semacam toko bangunan, dan mengirimnya ke perusahaan-perusahaan. Adiknya itu berumur 23 tahun, belajar menjadi dokter gigi.
Yes ya. Oh, gue Inggris. Bahasa Inggris apa kalau masih rame dong. Nanti saya pakai bahasa Inggris kalau salah googlekan ya. Kontaknya. Okay, my name is Iwan. I'm teacher in class 2D. Yang kemarin di sini ya. The friends evaluate politeness and etiquette. Itu apa itu? Sana itu terkenal dengan kesopanan dan menjunjung tinggi moralitas atau apa ya namanya? Etika ya. So can you tell us how to uphold politeness and ethical there? Jadi bagaimana cara menjunjung etika dan kesopanan di Prancis itu sendiri? Oke, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Friends are famous, are known by the politeness, kindness.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Friends?
yeah, he said that. And
Politician.
can you tell us about politeness and the kindness, how to make the student to be polite and kind?
Oh, okay. I think it's very surprising for me that you say that France is known for its politeness and kindness. Maybe in Indonesia, but in Europe at least, France is known for its rudeness. Yeah, French people are, the reputation of French people in Europe is that they are arrogant, rude, condescending, not polite. Yeah, not at all. So I think that's a little bit true, but also not true. Like, yeah, many people in France are nice, of course, but I think maybe it's that they are very direct. So sometimes it can be interpreted as being mean or not polite or rude. Yeah, because French people usually they always say what they think, and it can come across as rude. So yeah, I think compared to France, people in Indonesia are much kinder, more polite, more respectful, more welcoming. Yeah, and I think it's the reputation of people in Indonesia in the world that people in Indonesia are, yeah, so friendly and kind and polite and respectful. Yeah. Yes.
Oke, jadi sebenarnya malah berkebalikan dengan di Indonesia. Orang Prancis itu rata-rata tidak sopan, kasar, dan to the point. Jadi mungkin begini, kalau ya nggak ada basa-basi, jadi mungkin mereka itu ngobrol itu ya langsung menjelaskan apa isi hatinya. Jadi langsung mengatakan langsung to the point. Jadi tidak perlu basa-basi seperti di sini. Mungkin kita menganggap itu kasar, itu nggak sopan. Jadi mungkin budaya mereka ya itu langsung aja ngomong aku nggak suka ini gitu, nggak usah pakai basa-basi.
Yeah.
Kalau yang Indonesia itu kayaknya sudah gitu.
Yeah. So actually, I don't think I can give you advice about it because, yeah, I think people in Indonesia, yeah, are doing it better than people in France for politeness, respect. Yeah. For example, my experience in this school and in other schools, like the students, they are so respectful. Like, yeah, they always acknowledge you and say hello to you. They are, yeah, I think if one of you as a teacher came to France, maybe you would be a bit disappointed because you would not receive the same, welcoming friendly atmosphere like this. Maybe yeah, the students would say hello to you, but that's it. Yeah.
Mungkin kalau mau eh, bertanya tentang bagaimana menjadikan anak ini baik dan sopan, itu kayaknya nggak bisa bertanya ke anak karena mungkin lebih baik di kita. Nah, kalau untuk hal tersebut, nah kalau jenengan mau ke Prancis mungkin tidak akan merasakan hal yang sama seperti di sini, disambut kemudian friendly rasa rasa kekeluargaan. Kan misal jenengan ke suatu tempat yang nggak dikenal kan pasti disambut, terus disambut dengan hangat dan dianggap sebagai saudara. Kalau di sana enggak. Jadi kalau mungkin muridnya berkata halo gitu, mungkin ya gitu aja, tidak seperti di sini.
Yeah, and also I think the big difference is that people here, you're always smiling. Yeah. Well, yes. If yeah, always smiling, laughing.
Even we met, we smile.
Yes, but yeah, if you go to France, take the metro in Paris, for example, you will not see one single person smiling, just everyone like this. Yeah, like people don't smile as much, not as much. Like they smile when they're happy, they laugh and everything, but not all the time. Yeah, and yeah, also one other thing I noticed is that people here in the street, for me, I always feel like people know each other, even if they are strangers, like in the street or anything. Yeah, I feel like it's very easy for people to just talk to people they don't know, ask for something, like, oh, where is this? Ask for direction, or just make small talk or something. But in France, usually you don't talk to people you don't know, unless it's an emergency. But like, usually when I go about my day in France, even in the bus or anywhere, if it's strangers around me and I don't have a reason to talk to them, I will not talk to them unless I lost my phone and I need direction and it's an emergency. But otherwise, people don't talk to each other.
Ya, jadi kalau di desa itu kan kita biasa menyapa, senyum gitu. Kalau di Prancis enggak, jadi jalan gitu aja. Ya memang budayanya seperti itu mungkin. Kalau di kita ada yang seperti itu, ya berarti kita berbudaya seperti itu.
Prancis.
Terus ya memang budayanya seperti itu, berbeda. Kemudian kalau ketemu dengan orang asing, kalau di kita kan biasanya basa-basi terus ngobrol. Kalau di sana enggak. Jadi kalau kita mudah ngobrol dengan orang asing, kalau di sana enggak. Itu pun jadi pokoknya nak orang kenal ya meneng-menengan ngeten iki. Ya mungkin banyak yang introvert mungkin. Nah, kemudian kalau ada hal yang emergency itu darurat, nah itu baru mereka ngobrol. Jadi ngobrol itu seperlunya. Misalnya kalau tanya arah itu mereka juga bisa tanya ke orang sekitar. Jadi pokoknya ngobrolnya seperlunya.
And every time I talk to my family on the phone or my friends and I tell them just about my day, like, oh yeah, we did this and the children did this for me or this happened, they always say like, wow, like, oh my God, don't get used to it, because when you come back to France, it will be very weird for you. It will be a shock again to see how people are in France. Now that you are used to the kindness of Indonesian people, they always tell me like, wow, be prepared because when you come back to France, it will not be like this. Yeah.
Misalnya siang nanggung.
Pun betul sapi kan mau.
Pripun mau pun.
Semuanya lah.
Wow, ngeten. Jadi nak jenengan ke sana berharap sama seperti di sini yo. Pokoknya nggak bisa. Mereka akan menganggap kita aneh. Gue ngoper ra kenal ngomong karo. Nggih, mungkin malah dikira nganu penjahat. Mungkin ya.
Keterangan.
Kan orang nggak dikenal tiba-tiba ngajak omong gitu. Gitu. Monggo, sinten Mas?
Pertanyaan dua hal. Yang pertama tadi kan
Bahasa Inggris.
adalah ditanyakan kan keluarganya itu kan kebanyakan tadi ibu sama apa namanya adiknya kan perawat ya, maksudnya kesehatan gitu. Tapi kok Miss malah lebih ke bahasa Inggris itu yang pertama, maksudnya suka mengajar gitu. Yang kedua suka kan sebagai volunteer kan kemana-mana tadi, adakah pengalaman menarik yang bisa kita adopsi atau apa tentang pembelajaran bahasa Inggris gitu?
The first question, your father not a teacher, your mother as a nurse. So why do you choose go to university and take English faculty? This is the first question.
Okay.
And the second question, you as a volunteer, can you tell us how to inspire the student to learn English?
Okay.
Pertanyaan kedua, bagaimana menginspirasi anak-anak untuk belajar bahasa Inggris?
Ini kan
Pengalaman yang pernah didapatkan kira-kira apa yang bisa kita
Can you tell us about? Can you give me inspiration story that you go around the world?
Okay.
That the good story about can inspire us.
Okay. So why I chose to study English? So actually, at first when I was in school, up until senior high school, I liked English, but I had no idea what I wanted to study and what I wanted to do as a job. I had no idea at all. I was very lost and confused. I didn't know what I liked. So at first, I went to university to study economics, but I didn't like it. I knew that I wouldn't like it because I hate math, I hate economics, so it was a bad decision. So I stayed maybe 1 month and then I dropped out because I didn't like it. So, but I had always wanted to go abroad to learn English, but also discover other cultures, broaden my horizons. So I thought, okay, this is my chance to go abroad and do what I wanted to do. So I went to London in England for 6 months. So there I was working as an au pair. So au pair in Europe, it's very, very popular. It's when usually a young person goes to live in a host family abroad, and they are like the nanny and the language teacher for the children. So basically, I was living in an English family. There were 2 kids, 7 and 9 years old. And I was like their big sister, like taking them to school and teaching them French, like this. So it was such a good opportunity to live abroad without having to spend money, because I was being paid to do this. I was living there for free, food for free, everything for free, and receiving money. And it was the most amazing experience in my life because it was my first time to go abroad on my own. I was 18 years old, And yeah, I lived there for 6 months. And that's when I really, really, really improved my English because I had no other choice but to speak English because they didn't speak French. So I was always with them 24/7 speaking English. And yeah, it was just an amazing experience. I learned so much about their culture, shared about my culture. And, oh, sorry, maybe you want to translate because I forget.
Eh, setelah lulus SMA itu bingung mau ngapain, akhirnya ke universitas kuliah mengambil jurusan ekonomi. Nah, karena tidak suka dengan ekonomi, sebenarnya yang disukai adalah bahasa Inggris. Karena tidak suka dengan ekonomi, akhirnya drop out, kemudian bekerja sebagai kemudian keluar ke London,
Yes,
work as
au pair.
au pair.
Au pair.
Au pair itu apa ya?
I think there is no translation. It's just the au pair, AU space PAIR. Au pair. I think there is no translation.
Like nanny.
Like nanny, but more than just work. It's mainly about the cultural exchange and language exchange. Yeah, because you're really part of the family. They include you in every activity. They tell you about the culture. You share about the culture. It's not just it's not your employers and you work for them. Yeah.
Au pair itu semacam nanny. Nanny itu apa ya? Pengasuh. Oke, sudah nih. Nanti sudah jelas nih. Jadi bekerja sebagai pengasuh yang tidak hanya pengasuh, jadi pertukaran budaya, kemudian bahasa. Karena berada di Inggris, ya harus menggunakan bahasa Inggris dan kerja seperti itu terus-terusan. Kemudian dibayar, dihidup di sana gratis, tapi tetap dapat pemasukan.
And so yeah, after this experience, I thought, oh, I really like speaking English, so maybe I will study English. So that's how it happened. And then, yeah, and I knew that if I did a bachelor's degree, I also had the opportunity to study abroad. And I was very, very interested to go live abroad again. So that's also what motivated me to study English. And yeah, so it's how it happened.
Jadi yang memotivasinya belajar bahasa Inggris itu setelah bekerja seperti itu ternyata pakai bahasa Inggris terus. Akhirnya jadi lulus SMA itu tidak langsung kuliah, berkelana dulu, kemudian setelah tahu kebutuhannya kemudian memutuskan untuk kuliah di jurusan bahasa Inggris. Jadi kalau kuliah jurusan bahasa Inggris menunjang keinginannya untuk ke luar negeri. Okay, and the second question, you go to Cambodia, Laos, Iceland, Scotland, and so on. Can you tell us about the funny thing or the good story or the inspiration story?
Yeah. So for me, yeah, all of these experiences abroad have just been the best times in my life. And because they are so formative, because they have allowed me to learn so much more than I could have ever learned in a history book or geography book or any other book in school. Of course, school is great. It's the foundation for the citizens, yes, of course. But there is also so much that we can learn in the world from the people themselves. Like, for example, me being in Indonesia for 6 months, I have learned so much about the culture in Indonesia. Before coming to Indonesia, I didn't know anything about it. I only knew about Bali. But, for example, I had no idea that in Indonesia there were Muslim people. I didn't know. And I think many people in France don't know about it either. the people in my family, when I told them that the majority of the population is Muslim, they were like, "Oh, really? I thought they were like Hinduist, you know, because they only think about Bali." Yeah, and yeah, of course you can, I don't know, learn on the internet and everything, but it's so different. Like in 6 months, yeah, the amount of things I have learned about the people, the culture, I could have only learned this by living with them in a host family, going to school with them, being in this environment every day. And yeah, I think the world is just so big and so rich in terms of cultures, and it's so interesting to learn directly from the people themselves, and to be able to meet so many people is just such a amazing opportunity. And yeah, I have also discovered things about myself because I because when you're always in the same environment, you only know yourself in this environment. But when you go to different environments, you discover so many new parts of yourself that you could have never known about in your same environment. So I think that's why it's so beneficial and formative. Yeah, maybe you want to translate.
Jadi kalau kita belajar melalui buku atau Google itu kita bisa, walaupun itu bagus, tapi lebih menyenangkan lagi atau lebih bagusnya lagi kalau kita bisa tahu langsung budaya-budaya di seluruh dunia. Mungkin kita bisa tahu budaya di Prancis itu dari buku, tapi kalau kita tahu langsung berada di sana, nah nanti kita akan merasakan langsung bagaimana hidup di suatu negara yang berbeda budaya. Nah, kalau di Indonesia orang-orang itu taunya kan cuma Bali, dan Bali itu kan Hindu. Nah, kalau Anda pulang dan mengatakan bahwa sebagian besar orang Indonesia itu beragama Islam, maka mungkin mereka kaget karena taunya ya cuma Bali. Ternyata selain Bali itu ada budaya lain yang tidak sama dengan di Bali. Nah, mungkin lebih menyenangkan itu memang terjun langsung di suatu negara yang berbeda budaya, sehingga kita bisa tahu berbagai budaya dan merasakan berada di budaya yang berbeda, dan kita bisa mendapatkan manfaat dari apa yang kita pelajari di sana. Kayaknya itu ya kayaknya. The beneficial of learning a lot of culture.
I think, yeah, because in the world, yeah, you forgot. Should I? Oh, about discovering parts of yourself.
Yeah.
I repeat. Yeah, because when you know yourself in the same environment every day, yeah, in Nice, in my hometown, you forget that part. In Nice, in my hometown, I was always, yeah, a certain way because you're always in the same environment, always in the same comfort zone. So you have the same routine, you never really do anything different. But when you go abroad, everything is new, everything is outside of your comfort zone, and it forces you to grow. And because, yeah, you can only grow outside of your comfort zone. If you're always in your comfort zone, you will never grow and evolve. And that's why I think it's so beneficial to always push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And when you go abroad, yeah, it's very challenging, yeah, to live in a very different culture from yours. It's so challenging, but it's also so beneficial and so formative.
Jadi kalau biasanya kan kita budayanya seperti ini gitu, di Indonesia seperti ini, dan kalau kita keluar dari budaya kita, mungkin kita tidak akan nyaman karena berbeda dengan rutinitas yang kita lakukan. Tapi itu akan sangat bermanfaat untuk kita untuk bisa lebih bertumbuh lagi, mungkin bertumbuh dalam cara pandang kita melihat sesuatu atau menambah sudut pandang kita terhadap hal lain, karena kita banyak referensi budaya tidak hanya di Indonesia. Mungkin itu akan sangat menantang dan akan bergejolak dalam diri kita karena budaya yang berbeda, tapi di balik itu kita akan banyak mendapatkan manfaat dari berbagai budaya yang kita pelajari, sehingga pemikiran kita lebih banyak referensinya dan itu sangat bermanfaat. Jadi kata anak seperti itu.
Makanan,
Gimana?
bagaimana menyikapi dunia tentang makan kan mungkin kan juga berbeda ya. Mungkin ini kan kenal teh atau mungkin dalam mana gitu. Itu gimana? Cara dengan misalnya perbedaan makannya itu seperti apa?
About cultural shock.
Jebak.
The part is the food. Yeah. We always eat rice, but you seldom eat rice. How to maintain the cultural shock about the food?
Yeah, I have to say, at the beginning, it was very, very difficult because, yeah, just for breakfast, for example, in France, usually we always eat bread with jam, chocolate, cereals, fruits, only sweet things and light things. So, yeah, the first time that, I don't know, people would give me like noodles or rice for breakfast, for me, it was not even like, yeah, I was like, I mean, it was very weird for me to eat this for breakfast so early in the morning. And yeah, to eat so much rice, because in France, maybe we eat rice, I mean, personally, maybe once every 2 weeks, or sometimes never. Yeah. So at first it was difficult, but then for me now it's normal. So I think it's just everything is a question of getting used to things. You just get a new habit, and now maybe when I go back to France, I will have to adapt again to eat sweet things for breakfast. Yeah, so I think everything is a question of habit.
Pada awalnya itu memang berat bagi anak untuk beradaptasi dengan makanan di sini, karena mereka setiap pagi itu memakan yang manis-manis seperti buah, terus sereal dan lain sebagainya, supaya yang makanan-makanan yang ringan. Tapi kalau di sini kan setiap hari makan nasi, makan mie, jadi anak butuh waktu untuk beradaptasi di sini. Terus selama sekitar 5 bulan berada di sini bisa beradaptasi. Nah, tapi nanti kalau pulang ke Prancis lagi, kayaknya juga shock juga, karena sudah terbiasa dengan makan nasi dan lain sebagainya. Akhirnya kembali ke Prancis makan sesuai dengan budaya makanannya di sana. Nah, ya semuanya itu tentang kebiasaan. Kalau sudah terbiasa, kayaknya ya bisa membiasakan untuk kembali ke budaya awal mereka.
Makanan Indonesia yang paling suka, favorit food from Indonesia?
Nasi goreng, mie goreng, gado-gado, pecel, martabak.
Bakwan jembak. Bakwan jembak.
What is it? Bakwan?
Bakwan jembak, you add swimming pool with Mr. Johnny in the swimming
Oh,
pool.
bakwan. Yes, I like bakwan.
Bakwan.
Yes, I like it. Yes, I like it. Yeah.
Favorit.
Your favorite?
Sudah film itu nomor 1 pertanyaan terakhir. Kita kombinasikan aja pertanyaannya guys.
Dicampur saya ini
takut ya.
Itu kan kita pernah ada Jepang itu kan di sana ternyata tidak ada apa namanya seragam resmi, tidak ada mata pelajaran yang terikat, tapi lebih ke karakter. Kalau di Prancis bagaimana? Apakah sama dengan Indonesia dengan tingkatan ada SD 6 tahun, SMP 3 tahun dan seterusnya?
Boleh nggak mampir-mampir di sana?
Dari pola makan yang berbeda itu bagaimana kondisi kesehatan di sini sendiri. Dari itu yang itu gimana kondisi kesehatannya?
Maksudnya
Lebih
pada
sehat
saat
dengan pola yang di Prancis sama yang di
oh gitu.
Mengkhawatirkan.
Okay. She asked about in Japan they force the student to be good character.
Oh.
Jadi the main of the education is about the character in Japan. How about in France? In Indonesia we wear uniform. Japan do not wear uniform. What about in France? What about the uniform and the education? How long the elementary student will study and what about the subject?
Okay.
Do friends focus on character or the academic?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, in France we don't wear uniform. In elementary school it's 5 years. And then I think that's also the main difference I noticed between France and Indonesia in the schools, because in Indonesia you focus a lot on character building, and at first I didn't even know what it was. When students were telling me about character building, I was like, but what is it? Because we don't have the same equivalent in France. In France, in the school, we only focus on the curriculum, only on the academics. For the extracurricular activities, it's not with the school. It's during the weekend or on Wednesday afternoon with your parents. Your parents are the one who decide, maybe you will do dance, football, whatever. And they, register you for extracurricular activities. But this also means that if your parents cannot afford to pay for extracurricular activities, you will not do extracurricular activities. So in school, I think maybe it's a bit more strict, maybe more disciplines, but also less freedom for the students. For example, when we eat lunch, we're not allowed to talk with our friends. We have to eat in silence. In the class, it's always silence as well. Otherwise, we get punishment. So it's quite strict. But other than that, we mainly focus on the curriculum and not at all on character building. I think the students in Indonesia are much more independent, responsible, mature. They have developed many other skills, like they are good at public speaking. They are confident, they can organize things by themselves, and I think this is lacking in the education in the French system.
Jadi di sana itu sama seperti Jepang, semuanya tidak berseragam, murid, guru, dan semuanya tidak berseragam. Kemudian untuk pendidikannya di SD mereka itu cuma 5 tahun. Cuma 5 tahun aja, tidak seperti di sini. Kemudian mereka fokus pada kurikulum untuk akademiknya. Mereka belajar selama 5 hari. Kemudian weekend itu mereka ekstrakurikuler sendiri. Terus kalau orang tuanya tidak bisa membayar ekstrakurikuler, tidak akan ada untuk anak-anaknya mengikuti ekstrakurikuler. Kemudian di sana itu sangat tegas kalau makan ya harus diam, tidak boleh bicara, dan duduk di tempat yang ditentukan. Kemudian kalau di kelas tidak boleh berisik. Kalau mereka melanggar peraturan langsung dihukum, dan ada petugas keamanan. Jadi ada petugas keamanan yang berkeliling, ya security guard.
Oh, yeah.
Ya, jadi ada petugas keamanan yang berkeliling untuk memantau anak-anak ini. Kalau mereka ada yang makan sambil bicara, itu langsung dihukum. Gue ngomong lagi. Atau langsung dikasih hukuman. Tapi mereka mengembangkan akademiknya dengan serius, seperti public speaking.
In Indonesia.
In French, so
No. Yeah, because sometimes I see, in this school or in other schools, the students organize by themselves activities. They are very confident to speak with a microphone in front of people. In France, in my school, we have never done this. Maybe we do some presentation in English, in front of our class, but that's it. The students would be so shy and not confident to speak in front of people. And that's why I was so shocked. Here, other schools everywhere in Indonesia, the students in SMP, SD, they can speak in front of people. They feel very confident. And in France, no, we only focus mainly, just on the academics. We don't develop other skills.
ya, jadi mereka hanya fokus di akademik, serius di situ. Tidak seperti di Indonesia, kalau kita selain serius di akademik dan berdasarkan kurikulum, kita juga memberikan kebebasan kepada anak-anak untuk berbicara. Kemudian anak bebas gitu kalau di sini, ngapain bebas, maksudnya bicara di depan kelas mereka berani, tanya berani. Kalau di sana mereka malu.
Because also, in France, we don't have any ceremonies. Ceremonies like on Monday, the flag ceremony, or other ceremonies, even for graduation, nothing. There is never any ceremony.
Jadi tidak ada upacara kalau di sana. Kalau di sini kan sering banget ada upacara. Okay. Second question about the culture of France, the food. Is it healthy or not?
I think, I think the food in France is very healthy, I think, because it's very diverse. We eat, of everything, a lot of vegetables, and in France, it's not in the culture to eat snacks in between meals. We only eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In between those 3 times of the day, we do not eat. We do not drink iced tea or anything else. And for our meals, we only drink water. Yeah, so I think it's quite healthy. Yeah, because we eat of everything and no snacking.
Menurutnya sehat karena makanannya itu berbeda setiap harinya. Terus mereka lebih banyak makan sayuran dan tidak ada snack, hanya makan sarapan, makan siang, dan makan malam saja. Setelah itu nggak ada. Kalaupun ada ya cuma
That was my big culture shock in Indonesia.
Ada snack ya.
Yes, that I see always people eating or giving me food again, and I ask them, is it for breakfast or for lunch? No, just for a snack. Yeah, but I cannot eat because I'm already full. Yeah, if I eat snacks in between meals, I'm full for the meals. Yeah.
Oke, jadi gitu. Mungkin itu saja, terima kasih atas partisipasinya seperti saja semuanya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Foto saya teacher. Iya, teacher.
Okay. Here or here?